unlimited energy for everyone, forever. That is the potential of fusion energy. Why fusion? Well, as you all know, eventually, we're going to run out of gas and oil. Maybe not coal, but it's going to get harder and harder to get to that. So we need a replacement energy, and we know that solar and wind can help, but even they're not 100% reliable. Solar only works when the sun's out, and wind only works when the wind is blowing. So we need something that's really great, and that's what fusion is. Why? Well, let me quickly give you just the top 3 reasons why fusion is the energy of the future. Number 1, the fuel for fusion isn't rare or toxic at all. In fact, the fuel for fusion energy is the most common element in the universe, hydrogen. Number 2, fusion energy is safe. First of all, it's the same processes going on inside the sun. So you could look at it as a natural type of energy. And other things, like if something goes wrong in a fusion reactor, it doesn't melt down, it just stops. And number 3, fusion energy does not produce any dangerous pollution, toxic waste, or even carbon. The main byproduct of fusion is helium. Fusion is the natural process going on in the sun right now. The sun converts lighter elements into heavier ones and releases an enormous amount of energy in the process. And that's also where we get a lot of our elements, is from the reactions going on in all the suns across the whole universe. Fusion has the potential of giving us 3 to 4 times the amount of power that any fission reactor could. Fusion is our future because as a civilization, we've learned that the other atomic energy, fission, is literally a dead-end street. First of all, it takes uranium-235, a very rare, very radioactive element, to make fission work. And then, with the fission reactor, you've got a lot of radioactive, toxic radioactive waste. So it's very unsafe. Pretty much every scientist would agree that fission is on its way out. Fusion really is in our future for all of us. I'm very confident that we will see fusion reactors in the very near future. There's 2 kinds of fusion, actually. There's one kind where scientists arrange a bunch of really powerful laser beams in geometric patterns, and then aim those really powerful laser beams at the hydrogen atoms until they heat up so much they literally fuse together and form a plasma. The second way that fusion is created is with really powerful magnetic fields. And what they do is they create these magnetic bottles around the hydrogen, and they squeeze the hydrogen atoms together so tightly and with such force that the atoms fuse together, form a plasma, release energy. Plasma's fairly easy to see if you're up in Alaska or the Arctic in the form of the northern lights. The sun puts out plasma every second of every day. We're going to see fusion in our future because right now there are several governments working on it, and one coalition of many governments, including China, Russia, a lot of the European Union states, the United States. Fusion energy appears to be the one thing we can all agree on, because if you're a scientist or you're an engineer, it really makes the most sense. Maybe not for our generation, or maybe even not our kids, but our kids' kids, our grandchildren and their kids. They're going to need this. This is common knowledge. So the international coalition is building the largest fusion reactor ever. It'll be done in 2025. Also, there's many private companies now coming out with new ideas and new machines for fusion. And some of those are actually working much better than the government-sponsored projects. One company in particular has created a plasma reaction that lasts longer than anybody else's. Speaking of plasma, that's what's going on inside this little sphere here. Probably one of the most exciting things about fusion is the fact that even though we don't have a fusion reactor online today, so many technologies have been brought into our civilization through fusion research. For example, with the lasers that I told you about, with the laser type of fusion, the research that it took to develop those lasers directly developed lasers that are used in the semiconductor manufacturing industry and enabled the technology that allows us to create microprocessors. We went from being able to put 1 transistor per micron to 1 million transistors per micron with that kind of technology. The super powerful magnets that we developed for fusion research, that technology was transferred directly to the medical industry for the use with MRI machines, magnetic resonance imaging machines. The power circuits needed to drive both type of magnets are almost identical. There's actually a lot of other things. Plasma alone is probably one of the most exciting things that's happening in science. We've got plasma cutters now. We have cold plasma. We have plasma cutters used in manufacturing, plasma scalpels. Plasma is the 4th state of matter. And although there's been a lot of really great things, I would have to say that our knowledge from fusion research of being able to manipulate plasma the way we do today, and to say that we now know how to manipulate the 4th state of matter is huge for mankind. And that was all made possible by fusion research. So to summarize, fusion makes sense because the fuel is the most common element in the universe, hydrogen. Number 2, it's a lot safer than fission, oil, or gas. And number 3, no pollution, no radioactive waste. The only byproduct is helium, which we can use to inflate all the balloons for the massive party that we're going to have when this goes mainstream.